Blessed day, everyone. Welcome to another topic on Property Talk 101. I am Marjorie, and together with me is my sister, Richelle. Okay, so I have heard so much regarding as is or where is sales. The first question is, what is the meaning of as is sales or the term as is, where is in real estate?
As is sales or as is where is provision in a contract of sale or a contract of rent of real property is common in the Philippines as a seller strategy and also in other countries as well. So this kind of as is basis of sale is especially usual or common in foreclosure sales. So this kind of phrase or term as is or as is where is basis is like a catch-all disclaimer clause or an avoidance clause on the part of the seller of a property to pass on the burden to the buyer to do a thorough inspection or to make a due diligence investigation on the property. So when you see the word or term as is or as is where is on a contract of sale or rent, it means to say that you, as the buyer or the renter of a real property, will accept the property on its present, visible, or current condition or state. So, this kind of as is or as is where is provision in a contract of sale or in a contract of rent is like a defense or strategy on the part of the seller to avoid against any future claims of misrepresentation or fraud or after sales issues after the buyer or the renter buy or rent the real property.
The second question is, what is the effect when the buyer or renter sees the term as is or as is where is on the contract?
When you see the term as is sales or as is where is contract of sale or contract of lease, it means to say that the seller or the lessor or renter of the property is not liable for any defects, damages, or deficiencies involving the property before you buy it and even after the purchase or the lease is closed between the buyer and the seller or between the lessor and the lessee.
Third question. What should a buyer or renter or lessee do whenever a real property is offered on an as is or where is basis?
The use of the term as is or as is where is in a contract of sale or rent of a property is a caution or a red flag on the part of the buyer or the lessee of a real property. So even though the seller or the lessor is using the term as is or as is where is in a contract of sale or rent of a property to pass on to the buyer the liability or responsibility to have a due diligence or thorough inspection of the property, still the buyer or the lessee has the right to ask from the seller or the lessor a full disclosure statement of the property's material issues or anything that involves issues on the maintenance, repair, and defects of the property. So, when you see the word or phrase as is or as is where is in a contract of sale or lease, then it is like a caution on your part to be more careful in doing a physical inspection of the property and in checking the property's legal documents. So, when you, for example, are not knowledgeable on doing that due diligence thing on the property, then it is wise for you to hire a inspector or somebody who's more knowledgeable on the checking of the documents and conducting a thorough inspection of the property.
Fourth question. Is it then worth your money to buy or lease properties on an as-is basis?
It depends on the choice or the preference of the buyer or the lessee of a property which is bought or leased on an as-is or where-is basis. So for instance, if you try to compare or weigh in what is the risk and the cost versus the benefit of buying that property which is sold or leased on an as-is or where-is basis, then you assume the responsibility on buying or leasing that property. So know first if the cheaper rate is worth it compared to the risk involved for any unforeseen or unknown defects and damages involving the property which you as the buyer or lessee might have to fix later on. So you have to be extra cautious in doing that due diligence. Now, as a buyer or lessee of a property sold or leased on an as-is or where-is basis, you really have the right to ask the seller or the lessee to make a full disclosure statement in writing of the property's major issues or concerns.
Fifth question. Is an as-is where-is sale or lease of real property an escape or excuse of the seller or lessor to take responsibility after the sale or lease? And in connection to that, are sellers or lessors responsible to make a disclosure or to give a full information to the buyer or renter of any major issues or any major repair and maintenance concerns over the property? And last follow-up on this particular question would be, how about the dealers such as the real estate brokers or sales agents? Are they also bound to disclose or honestly inform the buyers or lessee of any material issues or major problems of the property?
The as-is where-is provision in a contract of sale or in a contract of lease of real property is not a guarantee of full protection on the part of the seller or on the part of the lessor. So, on the part of the seller or lessor, he or she is duty-bound to inform the buyer or the lessee of the material condition of the property and also inform the buyer or the lessee of any kind of defects, damages, deficiencies, or anything that might involve repairs and maintenance issues of the property with the buyer or the lessee in order to avoid any potential conflicts later on in the fixing of that property. So, as a seller or lessor of a real property, you are duty-bound to make a full disclosure and give the truthful and honest answer to the buyer or to the lessee of the property as to the overall physical condition of that property or the history of the maintenance or repairs that were made on the property. As on the part of the agent or the real estate broker and dealer of the property, the agent, the broker, should also make a full disclosure of the different issues concerning the property. And that issue may also include the legal issues on that property, which may also affect the decision of the buyer or the lessee on the buying or the leasing of that property. So other material issues may involve, for example, the issues on termite infestation problems or other security issues or flooding issues, which may also affect the decision or choice on the part of the buyer or lessee. So that kind of disclosure is very important in order to avoid any potential conflicts that may lead to litigation between the parties involved in the sale or rent of the property.
Thank you for your time with us. Please hit the like and subscribe button to stay updated on our next topics. God bless our listeners and viewers.